Okay, good, you're good. We're good. Step right, step back forward.
There was a bang. Doors shattered, sirens echoed, and in a single moment, Ian Spackman's multi-million-pound empire collapsed. For years, he had lived like royalty, luxury cars, designer wardrobes, holidays in Dubai. But behind the facade, Spackman was running one of the most sophisticated drug networks in Liverpool, using shell companies and encrypted phones to flood the Northwest with cocaine, heroin, and cannabis. At just 37, he thought he was untouchable, until the police tracked his every move, raided his world, and stripped him of it all. This is the story of how Liverpool's underworld kingpin was brought down.
Spackman lived a life of luxury that most honest, hard-working citizens could only dream of. Extravagant holidays abroad, closets packed with designer gear, high-end vehicles gleaming on the driveway of his million-pound mansion.
In Liverpool's underworld, Ian Spackman ran a drug empire from the shadows, but he lived openly like royalty. Luxury cars, holidays in Dubai, designer wardrobes. That is, until police tracked his every move, raided his life, and stripped him of it all. This is the story of how one of Liverpool's biggest drug networks unraveled.
Luxury holidays to Thailand, Dubai, and weekends spent at his Malaga apartment. His BMW X5 gleamed on the driveway of his McCool mansion, where behind closed doors, he controlled a drug empire spanning the north of England.
He surrounded himself with designer watches, flashy sports cars, and luxury holidays to Dubai and Thailand, where he mixed with international contacts and indulged in five-star resorts. He even kept a weekend home in Malaga, Spain, where he could escape the UK and enjoy the Mediterranean lifestyle, sun-soaked beaches, expensive restaurants, and private parties. Back in Liverpool, his homes were stocked with high-end gym equipment, Cartier watches, and signed memorabilia from top sports stars, showcasing both wealth and influence. He infamously bragged that making £80,000 in just 2 weeks was merely ticking over, a casual payday for a man who treated millions in drug profits as disposable income. His arrogance and confidence reflected the sense that he and his empire were untouchable.
While a loyal team of trusted soldiers handled the day-to-day operations, everything appeared to be going their way. The money flowed, the drugs moved, and the empire thrived. But what Ian Spackman and his associates didn't realize was that they were being watched.
Spackman and his associates orchestrated a notably bizarre but highly effective smuggling method. They concealed large quantities of cannabis, heroin, and cocaine inside toilets and cat litter tubs, exploiting everyday objects to evade detection. Using fake plumbing businesses as a cover, they imported these drug-filled items from Spain under the guise of legitimate commerce. Once in the UK, the contraband was distributed throughout Merseyside, Lancashire, Cumbria, Teesside, and even the Isle of Man. This sophisticated operation wasn't small time. Over an 18-month probe, Merseyside police intercepted drugs with a street value of approximately £453,000. The scale made clear both the network's ambition and its concealment savvy. When asked about profitability, Spackman casually remarked that earning £80,000 in just 2 weeks was ticking over, a stark revelation of the empire's magnitude.
Ian had claimed that he had made roughly £80,000 in 48 hours, but the business was barely ticking over. He needed to move more products and make more money, so he decided to take advantage of the increase of drug users across northern England.
Spackman's organization didn't rely on street-level drug runners. Instead, he positioned himself as a wholesaler to other gangs, supplying them with vast consignments that fueled their own operations. By staying at the top of the chain, he avoided the street-level violence, turf wars, and petty disputes that often brought down smaller players. His network's reach extended not only across Liverpool, but also into smaller rural towns and coastal communities where demand was high and law enforcement presence was lighter. This allowed Spackman to dominate the hierarchy of distribution, embedding himself as a critical link between international suppliers and local dealers.
Every second captured on surveillance footage. There was no room for denial, no chance to fight the case in court. Each member of the crew was arrested on the spot and taken into custody. 5 miles from the chaos at Bemrose, a second team of officers descended on Mark Campbell's 2-story home in Thornton.
Spackman's dominance as a wholesaler put him on the radar of law enforcement, and soon Merseyside police launched an 18-month investigation, codenamed Operation Starlight. Detectives pieced together his network by tracing encrypted EncroChat communications, uncovering smuggling routes, and mapping how consignments moved from Spain into Liverpool before being distributed nationwide. Their findings linked Spackman to drug shipments with a street value of over £1.25 million. The crackdown dismantled his empire. 26 gang members were ultimately jailed, receiving sentences of more than 220 years in total, with 9 key lieutenants alone accounting for 130 years.
Spackman's own gang was made up of 8 people. James Gannon was just below Spackman in the organization, but one of the main figures. He coordinated and conducted business on an almost constant basis.
In the end, Ian Spackman himself was handed a 17-year and 4-month sentence, a term that reflected both the scale of his empire and his role at the top of the hierarchy. His closest lieutenants also faced crushing punishments. James Gannon, described by prosecutors as a trusted right-hand man, received 22 years, while Peter Mulvaney, who oversaw logistics and distribution, was sentenced to 19 years. Tom Collins was given 16 years, and Mark Campbell received 14 years, with several others handed down terms ranging from 10 years upward. Together, the sentences dismantled the once feared operation, showing that even well-insulated drug lords could not escape the reach of justice.
That they had leased, and also the lockups, and they even had gang members outside just to watch what was going on and report back to the 3 men in charge. Now these cameras were also able to be accessed remotely.
Spackman's capture was part of broader operations. Other gangs were exposed across Merseyside and beyond, including those supplying the Isle of Man and Teesside. A related operation noted that 26 criminals received 243 years combined in prison. The crackdown sent shockwaves across regional crime networks.
Item was actually smuggled in special compartments built into the van floor. Again, when police investigated Ian and his men, they said that from Liverpool, the tentacles of the organisation reached out around the northern part of England.
Spackman and his associates used encrypted messaging, PGP phones costing £1,000 plus, frequently changed routes, and attempted to evade surveillance. Yet over time, police built a holistic picture through surveillance and infiltration, showing that sophistication doesn't guarantee safety.
They arrived in an armored Land Rover, built to batter through gates and barricades without hesitation. Inside, Campbell's girlfriend was blindsided by the sudden intrusion.
Liverpool's drug underworld has deep roots, stretching back to the 1980s Smack City era and the rise of the Liverpool Mafia. Ian Spackman's operation was the modern, corporate-style evolution of that legacy, highly structured, covert, and international, with links reaching as far as Ibiza and the Netherlands. Yet his empire wasn't only dismantled through long prison terms. Under the Proceeds of Crime Act, the burden shifted onto Spackman and his associates to prove their lavish assets were legitimately earned. From flashy cars to luxury properties, much of their wealth was stripped away and redirected into public funds, ensuring the network's downfall was both criminal and financial.
Merseyside police had been watching all along. The trap had been set, and Mulvaney had walked right into it. The moment the clipboard left his hand, police moved in.
Police, show me your hand! Back off! Back off! Back off!
These operations aren't just headlines. They confront addiction, violence, and destitution. Each kilogram imported equates to damage in vulnerable communities across the region. Merseyside police, now using cross-jurisdiction task forces and technology like encrypted intercepts, are constantly adapting. Their message rings clear. High-level crime is countered with high-level investigation. These operations aren't just sensational headlines. They represent the harsh realities of the drug trade, addiction tearing apart families, violence destabilizing neighborhoods, and entire communities left in cycles of poverty and fear. Each kilogram smuggled in by Spackman's network meant hundreds of deals on the streets, each one fueling further suffering.
Back in March 2017, Merseyside Police's tactical support team moved swiftly. An armored Land Rover, its engine growling in the early dawn, led the charge.
Merseyside Police, long familiar with Liverpool's reputation as a gateway for narcotics, have reshaped their approach to match this new era of organized crime. With international task forces, surveillance teams working across borders, and cutting-edge techniques like encrypted phone intercepts, they are no longer chasing small-time dealers. They're dismantling empires from the top down.
That had been transported from Liverpool to across the UK. James's holidays and Ian's holidays and Tom's holidays were checked. The designer gears its members flaunted were checked, and the value of the items were also checked too.
The message is unmistakable. No matter how sophisticated or well-funded, criminal enterprises like Spackman's cannot outpace law enforcement forever. His downfall is a cautionary tale, showing that even those who live like kings in the underworld eventually face the consequences, not just prison, but the systematic stripping of their wealth and legacy under the Proceeds of Crime Act.
But these were the faces of the operation, the headline makers, the big players, the ones small-time dealers looked up to. But every empire has a weak spot. And for Ian Spackman and his crew,
the message is unmistakable. No matter how sophisticated or well-funded, criminal enterprises like Spackman's cannot outpace law enforcement forever. His downfall is a cautionary tale, showing that even those who live like kings in the underworld eventually face the consequences, not just prison, but the systematic stripping of their wealth and legacy under the Proceeds of Crime Act. For Liverpool, the case remains a milestone in the fight against drug trafficking, proving that high-level crime will always be met with equally high-level investigation. An empire built on street misery and encrypted lies, fitting mansions and aperitivo trips, Spackman's life shows the extremes of criminal boldness and law enforcement's resolve. And for audiences, it's a reminder: power paired with vice eventually meets its reckoning.